Jalen Green got to be ready to make a play if he gets trapped here.
Splits it, drives, and the English! Oh, how about the touch by Jalen Green? That is so stupidly fun.
That is from win number 10 of an 11-game win streak by the Houston Rockets when they took down the Oklahoma City Thunder in what was probably the most fun game of last season. And now they tip off the 2024-2025 campaign tonight at Toyota Center against the bum-ass Charlotte Hornets with a tip-off at 7 p.m. The vibes are so good right now with this team. I don't think we have high expectations for them, but I think we all believe that this is going to be a very watchable team. And I do not see how this team misses the playoffs, George.
I have reasonable expectations, and I think those are reasonable expectations, Paul. Make the playoffs, not the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament's for losers. Do something real with your season. Do something real with it, Paul.
I don't know if we can quite look down at the play-in tournament yet.
I just don't like it in general. That's a problem.
I agree with you there. I will gladly take the play-in tournament to make the playoffs. But I think that right now, you are looking at one of the friskier and more fun teams in the league. And I think best of all, to be consistent with what Ime Udoka has been trying to preach to this Rockets team, I like that there are so many guys on this team that are going to have to essentially battle one another for playing time. You will probably, over the next year, couple of years, essentially be having a sort of tryout for who's here long term. And I think that can only make this team tougher and better.
I mean, you look at start with Fred VanVleet. Like his contract could be up at the end of the season. He's got to worry about Amen Thompson. You've got Reed Shepherd. You've got Cam Whitmore. Like basically, you have Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün. Those are your two main guys now that you've paid them. You got Fred VanVleet will be your starting point guard, and you have Dylan Brooks. And even like Dylan Brooks should be feeling some pressure this season because you're right. There's so much talent. The core 20, whatever we're at now, 8, 7, 6, whatever they want to call the core of the Rockets, these young players. You're right. It should be a real competition for playing time, for minutes, for valuable minutes, not just because I'm most curious about the end of the game. Like, how does that competition within the team play out? If you are in a 5-point game and there's 2 minutes left, who are the 5 guys on the court? Because it's going to be Alpy and Jalen, but is Steven Adams in the mix here?
No, Steven Adams definitely not in the mix. I think we could rule him out.
I think
keep asking questions though. I feel like you're going with some more names.
Will Dylan Brooks be in it because he can't shoot? Like he can play great defense.
He thinks he can shoot.
He thinks he can, and Cam Whitmore thinks he can play defense. So which one wins that battle? The end of the game is going to be the most interesting part of this season. Early on, as they try to figure out their final rotation in crunch time, who's going to be on the court and who's not.
I'm with you there. I like that you can definitively look down at a Charlotte Hornets team tonight. You're in a tier above them, possibly multiple tiers above them. Now, the Hornets aren't very good, and there's been all sorts of bad vibes with them since they rebranded. Honestly, there's just been bad vibes since they existed.
At least Michael sold the team. Like maybe they'll be in a now that Jordan's gone, ruining a franchise. Like maybe they'll be in a little bit of better direction.
Literally have never made the Eastern Conference Finals. As a franchise.
Sad.
Like not since the Bobcats, since Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson. Those guys never made the third round.
Who are the best players they've had? Kemba Walker?
I just named 2 of them.
Okay.
Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson.
But they
Kemba
don't
Walker.
count. They're not even from these. I mean, those are the Hornets that moved to New Orleans and became the Pelicans.
They have that history though.
I get that. But it's a different franchise.
Yes. It in the 2003 iteration, like since 2003.
Kemba Walker,
Gerald Wallace was really good for a little while.
Okafor or Gerald Wallace was pretty good.
Emeka Okafor.
I guess LaMelo Ball.
Mason Plumlee.
See, you should win tonight.
Yeah.
You should win rather convincingly tonight. This team just a loser franchise all time, and you are turning yourself back into a winning franchise. I like Ime Udoka as a coach. I'll give Rafael Stone a lot of credit for cleaning up the mess that this roster was, especially in a post Kevin Porter Jr. world, things have aged very well for this team. And now this year is about figuring out who sticks around for the long haul.
I think the what impresses me the most about it is just the success rate in which he hit with his lottery picks. I mean, Alperen Şengün was a 16th pick in the draft, and you just got a 5-year, $185 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
You typically think that's the top of it, and they got really unlucky a lot of times in the lottery where they would get the second or the third pick, and they never landed that first overall pick. But they've done a really good job of cultivating talent and building, like we're talking about, that inner competition. And now to see what's next is how much they grow in year 2 of Ime Udoka. That now that he's established this culture, like of playing hard defense, of being a tough basketball team on the court and not dealing with people's nonsense when they're trying to start fights and going at people all the time, like the feisty Rockets. That's one thing I hope doesn't change this season.
Yeah, I want them to get in fights every single
Yes.
game. We all did predictions for tonight's game, and both of you guys see it being a little more high scoring than me. I want the Rockets to not be like Rockets. I want the Rockets to be post World War III. I want the Rockets to get in rock fights. The rock fight Rockets.
Just start punching people.
Rockets, rock fight. That's not going to roll off the tongue. I think that their hashtag this year is Rockets Liftoff, which, okay, that makes sense. It's the liftoff of a new generation. But I want them to get in rock fights every night because that's the kind of basketball that I like. And I know that I am in the minority here in terms of liking that, but this is why I am so much more open to jumping aboard this bandwagon, because they're not a bunch of softies like I felt like the Daryl Morey, Harden, Chris Paul Rockets were. And I know they had the 1 year, but I just hated the way that they played, hated the style that they had. I want a team that wants to fight people. And guess what? This team literally does.
I think they're generally likable. I mean, I really don't think there's anyone. I know some people don't like Jalen Green. I do like Jalen. Like, I think he has his flaws as a basketball player, but he's really the only guy that there's people on social media, at least.
I'm giving him a fresh start this year with the way that he finished it off. But you're
Yeah.
right. It is mixed. And of course, he did not handle certain moments last year very well. He was god awful until all of a sudden, February, March, he started to just blow up.
I will say, as far as the core 7, you're right. They literally have Dylan the villain.
Yeah, but he's our villain now.
No, but oh yeah, I guess.
Well, do you like him now?
Is he likable?
He's likable as long as he's on the Rockets.
Do you two like him now?
I'm not all the way in. I'm like 95% in on.
Come
Dylan
on.
Brooks.
I think I'm like 80%.
He actually did not shoot that badly.
Yeah, he had a couple of good games last year.
There's a while where he's like over 40%, where the entire time you're like, this is not sustainable.
Well, it was the start of the season last year. Like the start of the year when they were.
Start of the year.
He was just, I was like, wait a minute, who is this guy?
Yeah,
like,
okay.
This is not the basketball player I thought they signed. Yeah, I'm like 80% for Dylan Brooks.
80?
I can't get all the way there yet.
Okay.
For me, it's mostly how he conducted himself in the after the Lakers series and the like not doing the media stuff after losses, but doing it after wins and talking smack. It's like that just still leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. But for the most part, I like Dylan Brooks.
But like before a game when he's just awkwardly
When he's just staring out,
staring at LeBron and just like,
well, no,
watching
he's
him.
just staring in the distance.
No, he doesn't stare at anything. I went down courtside at one of the Rockets games I went to last year to try and figure out what he was staring at. I was just walking around and he literally stares at nothing.
Looking over his shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah, he just like stares off in the distance.
I think I like that more than now 85%.
I like it more than it being some sort of intimidation factor. Because guess what? You're not going to intimidate LeBron.
But
Sorry.
it's like it's like a team intimidation factor. Like people are just like, what's wrong with this lunatic?
Yeah, it's a little bit of like, oh god, it's where you're in the layup line, you do the layup, you're running back to half court to get the end of the line, and you look and you're like, oh god, we have to play this psycho. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I'm excited for this season. I'm with you, Paul. I think the expectation is to make the playoffs. I think they will make the playoffs this year. You look at the teams in front of them. They just missed it last year by 5 games. Most years, 41-41 gets you into the play-in tournament. And the only team behind you that should also have the expectations to make the playoffs this year, I would say, is the Grizzlies. They should have some talent, but the teams in front of you, We saw Klay Thompson leave Golden State. Like, what do they look like? I don't really believe in the Sacramento Kings. Maybe Mark DeRozan keeps them in the playoffs. The Pelicans are one Zion cheeseburger away from their season being ruined.
He to his credit, he finally is in shape.
I know, which is scary for the league. The Lakers, I think they won last night. Like, we'll see how their season goes.
You're a half game back of the Lakers right now.
Yeah, they're the best team in the Western Conference right now.
Got to start climbing up.
Yeah.
Climb up those rankings.
The Rockets ahead of the Timberwolves, though. How about that?
All right, Timberwolves dead.
Western Conference Finals for the Rockets?